Hey guys, it's Canada Graphs here, and this is going to be a little different video than usual because I'm really going to talk about one or two specific topics that are getting a lot of attention this week. I was actually asked about this topic in my Q&A post in my community tab from Tom Gemavere. But I'm going to expand out on it a little bit more, which is why I'm doing a solo video just on this, because my Q&A videos are already usually like 20 minutes long, and I really feel this is going to be a topic that's going to take me several minutes to break down. And it's probably going to spread out a little into one or two other smaller topics, but we'll try and keep it focused mostly on this topic, and that topic is, why is Supergirl now only going to be 20 episodes this season? So if you're not really keeping up with the day-to-day work of the Supergirl fandom, if you're not one of those ones that's on Twitter or Instagram or something every day checking in to see what's going on with Supergirl, you may not be aware that this season of Supergirl is now only 20 episodes instead of 22 or 23 as they would do in most years. Now, this is something that I had heard rumors of for a while. I had been hearing about this potentially happening since like the fall, maybe even like late summer. But I was never really able to confirm that was the case. There was nothing stating that was going to be the case, and their filming dates suggested they were going to be doing a 22 episode season. They were supposed to film until the second week of April. But one of the film lists, we have a few of them in the city for different production groups or whatever, came out on Friday, and it had revised their end date to March 17th, which is almost a month earlier. So once I finally saw that, and knowing that the production is currently on 6/19, I realized that those rumors I'd heard about there being only 20 episodes were actually accurate. So a lot of people started panicking, a lot of people started theory crafting, a lot of people came up with some pretty insane rumors on Twitter and Instagram and places like that. Everything from the show is losing so many viewers that they're trying to cut back on how much money they lose, to there's backstage problems, to Melissa is pregnant, and any variety of things in between, to be honest. So here's the things I know, which isn't a lot, but also things I know to be probable from my experience dealing with this stuff on a more regular basis than fans do. So usually at the start of the year, there is a budget set out for a show. The studio network will say, here's X amount of money we're giving you to produce this show. Here's how much content we want back. Now, that should be more than enough to cover for the year, with some left over for safety reasons, whatever. But there are chances that could theoretically not be enough if problems arise. Now, I think one of the bigger problems really is you never know what costs might suddenly go up, right? What if this one specific piece of equipment you need to do your show went up 40% in price during the run of your production? So they started in June. Say they find out in August that price has gone up 40%. That's 40% more they're taking out of their budget, or 40% more on top of the price for that specific part of their budget that they were planning. That can cause you problems down the line, and it might be that they found out early on we're going to be screwed for this part of the budget, and it's going to really cut into our time. And they may have went back to the studio, back to the network, and went, so here's a problem. And they went, well, we really can't give you more. This is what we've set aside. But what we could do is let you run that budget through only 20 episodes instead of 22. And I think that's, somewhere in there is the probable scenario. But I mean, obviously outside of the people in the production, that is just me speculating, but it's speculating based off of being around this long enough to have seen a few things. So there was another rumor going around. Well, people speculated that the reason this is happening is so that they could do the Superman and Lois pilot. In fact, there's people even speculating that they're going to do 2 episodes of Superman and Lois, and that's why the 2 episodes of Supergirl were cut out. Now, the dates for the Superman and Lois pilot do coincidentally run pretty close to the end date of Supergirl. Supergirl ends on the 17th. Superman and Lois starts the week after. And they're running longer than a usual pilot would. The usual pilot's about a month, give or take a few days. This one's like 6 weeks, I think. Maybe 7 weeks even. It's a pretty long one, and I'm kind of curious why. So a lot of people thought, well, they're doing 2 episodes because it is a long time and people don't understand how long the pilot takes to shoot. They also, they're like, well, if Supergirl got cut back to 20, maybe they're taking 2 episodes out of there and giving it to Superman. And the whole, theory was oh, well, they're going to use Supergirl's crew. Well, that's not how that works. And the reason that's not how that works is when Supergirl goes back to production for season 6 and Superman is in production for season 6, Superman's still going to need a crew. They can't just bounce back and forth every day between productions. So Superman would have its own crew. They would have already started hiring their crew, throughout the last couple of months. Since they got greenlit, they would have already started putting the pieces in place, and none of those are going to be Supergirl people. Now, other people are like, well, they're going to use the same studio. They're not in the same studio. Supergirl films in a city outside of Vancouver, about an hour outside of Vancouver, and Superman is actually filming in the big studio where Arrow and Flash film. So they're not even sharing a studio, let alone crew. They've got different showrunners. It's completely down the line different, except for the fact they're on the same network and they overlap in an Arrowverse. So the people that have been claiming that are they're just grasping at straws on that end. And as far as the one, people were like, well, she's probably pregnant and they want to give her time to have the baby. Well, there was set photos from the other local set blogger in town recently showing her on set for 6/19, and you can clearly tell she's not pregnant. Or even if she were, she's very early in it, and they wouldn't be giving her 2 months extra off for that. They're not, they might do that if she were 8 months in. They'd be like, wow, we really need to cut back on the schedule, but she's not. Yeah, I'm reasonably confident she's not pregnant at all, but even if she is, it's pretty early in a pregnancy, and they're not going to cut the production schedule just because. I'm not really sure why this theory got out there. I think it's just one of those things whenever an actress or a lead actress suddenly isn't doing as much work, or there's a break that they weren't expecting them to take, they just jump to that reaction every time. I mean, I've seen the same thing said about Candace Patton in the past. I've even seen the same thing about Melissa in the past. That's you're not going to find that out until they tell you, and they're not gonna drop that one on you you're like the Danielle Panabaker one. We found out before anyone even was aware of it. I mean, I'd seen her on set, was unaware. And then they came out with that information. I'm like, oh, interesting. But yeah, there's no sign that that's happening in this case. If it is, she's very early in the days, and I don't think that's the case. I saw a few things out there where people were suggesting that there's behind the scenes problems, like there was maybe in the Kreisberg days. I don't think there is, but if there is, I haven't heard about it, and I haven't seen a solid suggestion from anyone that I would trust suggesting that. No one's been speaking out of turn, so I don't think that's the case. In the end, I mean, if I'm laying money, I'm just going to assume that it is a budgeting hiccup, and the easier solution was cut back their episodes rather than give them more money. It's not the first time it's happened. A couple of shows in the past I've seen have had episodes cut back for a variety of reasons. Usually something where there's not enough money to go around. So it's not the first time it's happened. It's just maybe the first time you're aware of it because it's a show that connects to you. Yeah, that's mostly where all that comes from. That was the other thing. I saw some people, they thought because Melissa is canceling a convention and it's allegedly for work-related reasons that this has something to do with she got a new project, and because she got that new project, Supergirl had to close early. Let me tell you something right now. Warner Brothers bends over backwards for Melissa, and even with them giving her all of the room that she asks for, there's no way in hell they're gonna let her walk off, do another project, and leave them holding the bag for millions of dollars. No chance in hell. She could go do that other project, make a few $100,000, maybe $1 million if she really got lucky. That is pennies to Warner Brothers. So there's no way they're letting the lead actress of one of their most successful shows walk off early to go do another project to make a fraction of what they would make off theirs. So anyone that thinks that she's gone on to do another project, that's no. She might go get another project now. Like, it's one of those things, she might have the time now to go pull down another project because she knows she has this extra time. But that wouldn't have been the reason they would have cut back the episodes. That would have been her taking advantage of them cutting back the episodes. There's also people were saying that the reason they're ending early is because they're going to be starting early. I saw that clip from the convention. In fact, that convention was right here in Vancouver, where Jesse Rath said that, and until I hear it from like a more fleshed out source, I think he just misheard something. Sitting around the water cooler at the set, and someone said something, and he misheard it or has misinterpreted it. There's a lot of unions at work. Like, there's the actors union, writers unions, there are all sorts of unions at work for a production, and there's no way in hell you're getting all of them to sign off on coming back to work in 3 weeks after 9 months of work. No way. Let me tell you something about film crews. They love their time off. They love it. They love it more than you and I do. So they're not bouncing right back to work in 3 weeks. And that's not to say that all film crew members are the same, but there's enough of them that the second they have some time off, they're gone for a month and a half to somewhere, right? They're not getting off a project and going, hey, I wonder what else is filming in town that I can go work on. Some do. There absolutely is. There's some that do. But most of the ones I talk to, when I'm talking to them, like, oh, what are you working on next? They're like, my tan. Like, they're thinking summer vacation because their vacation season ends, in late June. So they're taking advantage of every second they can get. So yeah, that is where that is for the Supergirl stuff. They're only doing 20 episodes. They wrap in a couple of weeks instead of in April, as they were planned to do when production started in June of 2019. So if you see any articles out there claiming a reason that they quote unquote know why production is ending early, take it with a grain of salt. Even if they turn out to somehow be right, I think at this point they would literally be guessing, unless they can source where they got that information from. If they can come up with a source and that source is a credible source, then perhaps believe what they're saying. Without that, though, I think everybody is just speculating, partially myself too. So yeah, it is probably not because of behind the scenes issues. It's probably not because of a project Melissa has got. It's definitely not because of the Superman series. It is probably because of some type of budgeting hiccup that happened. So yeah, that is the video on this. Like I said, I thought this was going to be something that I was going to have a bit to say on, so I thought I'd do a individual video just for this. Listening, and I will get to my February March Q&A pretty soon. I have already done the video for some of it, so maybe later this week.